Hi everyone, welcome to day 12 of writing. So yesterday we talked about our thesis, and our thesis was, in my opinion, Booker T. Washington needs better school lunches. So yesterday you should have come up with your own thesis, and you should also have reasons or evidence to support that. Because I want to tell you a story, because when writers write, especially when they're writing speeches, they want to convince the people that are listening to believe the same thing that they're believing. So I want to tell you a story. So I saw this movie once about global warming and the dangers of climate change, so when the earth is getting hotter, and it's called The Inconvenient Truth. And at first I thought, do I really actually need to be worrying about this? And after all, the earth getting hotter could be a good thing because, I hate the cold in Connecticut. But then in the movie, it started to show different polar bears who live on these ice caps and over in the North Pole. And all these ice caps were starting to melt because of global warming, and these polar bears were losing their homes and falling into the water. And I started thinking, and I was like, it's really important for me to see that these polar bears, because I was only thinking of myself. And so these polar bears helped me to not just think about global warming with me, but also think about and get to know more about global warming and care about it a lot, because I think it's important that we make these changes so we can help these animals. So I want us today to be thinking about, just like in The Inconvenient Truth, how they started showing real examples of these polar bears falling into these ice caps, how in your own writing opinion or persuasive speeches, in order to make your arguments or your opinions really last and make people want to make those changes, you want to provide examples that can make your opinion come to life. So to really persuade or convince your audience, you need to be providing examples. So for us, our thesis was, in my opinion, Booker T. Washington Academy needs better school lunches. And I'm only focusing on one reason that we said this. There's a lot of reasons that we wrote as a class, and I have that we posted on day 10. But one of the reasons that we said that it was really important for Booker T. Washington Academy to get better school lunches is because food gets wasted. And I think just by saying food gets wasted, someone that's reading it, it's not really going to make it worthwhile. It's not going to convince anybody of doing something. So I need to provide a real example of what happens when that food gets wasted. So I started thinking a little bit further about the other day when we were back at school, and I saw the entire trash can was filled with food. And I was thinking, that's not really okay, because all that food got made and now it's just thrown in the trash. And there's so many people, like in our community of New Haven or in Connecticut in general, or just in the United States, that are homeless that might need that extra food. So I was thinking about how it's really not fair that we're wasting so much food in our own school when we can really be giving back to our community. So I can go further in my example, and I'll keep using it, but I'm just going to keep a quick note of food gets wasted. And the reason our example that I'm using would be people are going hungry in our own country, but we're throwing food away. And I'm just going to use that example of when I was looking in our trash can and it was filled to the brim, but I'm going to go dive in deeper when I'm actually writing my example and writing my paragraph. So my paragraph might look a little bit of something like this. I think that a lot of people in the school waste their food. After lunch, I see an entire garbage can filled with food. There are people in our own country that are going hungry, but we're wasting what is left over. I feel really bad about how we waste our food. Instead of throwing away, I think we should start donating food to our community. So what I did is I elaborated further on my reason of food gets wasted and started thinking about a solution to solve this problem. Instead of throwing away food, we can reuse that food and give it to our community, just like we did for our community project on Valentine's Day. And we can say more to convince by adding in each part. So you can add in examples from real life, and a sentence starter that you can use is for example, or I noticed, or when, or by. So you can use those sentence starters to be including your examples from real life. You could also be including things that you see or that you learned about in an interview or a survey. So blank said, so the author of that interview, so whether it's maybe a book that you read on Mayan or a fact that you know, and include that fact to help support your opinion. You could also include a mini story from your own experience, just like I did with when one time I'm looking in the garbage can and I see our whole garbage filled with lunch from school. So you can start it by one time or back when. So a story from your own experience. You can include facts that you know to support your opinion, or examples from real life. And we can use those things to convince our audience. So what I want you to start doing is finding at least 3 places in your opinion and persuasive piece where you can add an example to your evidence and make your opinion even stronger. So start writing your opinion piece. Remember that each reason is its own paragraph, and there should be about 3 paragraphs that just say all your reasons. Start including examples of how you see this and how it's really affecting the world around you, so you can make your opinion even stronger. So if you were to be saying a speech, people are really going to be listening and also being more convinced.